Hi everyone, I'm Aaron, and today I'm going to show you how to build a continuous integration pipeline using GitHub Actions and Microsoft Azure. So first thing first, we're going to create our repository. So we'll go to our GitHub profile, then click New, and let's call it Azure Continuous Integration CI. When you create a repository, you have the option to pick a template for your git ignore. What this does is basically if we choose it for Python, for example, then it will ignore irrelevant files, and it will only, whenever we use a git command, it's only going to look at the .py files or relevant Python files and implement the command on them. So let's create the repository. Okay, the next thing is to clone this repository into our Microsoft Azure. So in order to do that, when you first try to do this, you have to create what's called an SSH key. So the way to do that is do SSH keygen, and then T stands for the type, and we use the RSA type. When you click enter, it will ask you a couple of questions. What do you want the name of the file to be and the encryption for it? You don't need any of that. You just keep pressing enter until it's done. Once it's done, it's going to give you a couple of files in your SSH directory. So let's go to my SSH directory. I'm just going to show you how these files look like. So yeah, we have ID_RSA and the IRSA.pub. And we're going to look at the contents of these files. This is going to be our SSH key. Copy that and then paste it into our GitHub. So this basically makes a connection between your Azure machine and GitHub. And the way you add it is go to your profile and then click on settings, then SSH and GPG keys, and then you'll have an option to add whatever you have on this file over here, which is basically copying and pasting it here. Okay, so now that we have created our repository, the next thing is the set of files that we need for having this continuous integration pipeline. So I typically keep in order to do this, we're going to create environment. I'll explain to you what an environment is, and then I'll show you how to make it. So I typically keep my projects and environment in separate files. Now let's go to our deliveries or the projects. As you can see, I already have one project there. What we're going to do is clone this repository that we have created. Where is it? Your repositories, Azure CI. So we go to code, and then make sure you go to SSH and copy this. Then go here and paste it. So that's what we have. Now, if you're making this connection for the first time, it's going to ask you to confirm that. And also you'll have to define your username and user email, which it's going to prompt you the commands. It's something like git config user.name and then git config user.email. So yeah, next thing, now that we have cloned it so we can see it, let's go into that directory. As you can see, it's empty. We're going to create the files that we need for the continuous integration. So the files that we need are makefile. Let's see. So we can create files using touch command, touch, makefile, touch, and then we need a requirements file also. Let's see. Okay, touch makefile, requirements.txt, and then touch. This is going to be our main script. I'm just going to name it as hello.py, and then this one is going to be our testing script, test hello.py. So now if we do an ls, we see that these files are here, but they're empty. So let's write code in them. I already have some codes here, so I'm gonna copy these and paste them. There you go. And then we do the same thing for requirements. I think my requirements is, let's see. I just have two packages for requirements, PyTest and PyLint. So this is for my requirements. And then for the main script, I lost connection. Okay, it's back now. For the main script, we have just a couple of really simple functions. So this is what we have for the main script. Save it. So the way we save these files is pressing escape on your keyboard and then colon, and then W saves it and Q quits the file. So you can save it by just like colon W and pressing enter. If you want to quit, then save and Q, we can do it together. And the next thing we want to do is we have already created our test.hello, the testing script. So let's see what we have there. And here basically we just make a bunch of functions and sort of assertions to make some sanity checks and make sure our code is performing as we expect it to. And this is what I have for this portion. Let's escape and save it, quit and save. Okay, so there we go. And now we have all our files here. So the next thing is creating a virtual environment. Now, the reason we need virtual environments is because if we're working on multiple projects, then different versions of different modules might have a clash and might not work with the individual project that we're working on. So what we do is we create these environments to separate them from each other. There are a couple of ways to create these environments. If you use Anaconda, you can use the conda command, and with Python you have this Python 3 module v to create the environment, and then you also have the virtual env command where you can use to create the environment. I'm gonna use, so as I said, I'm gonna put my environments in the environment folder over here, separate from my projects, and I'm gonna use the Python 3 module to do it. So let's do that. Module environment, and then my environment. And for my environments, I typically put this dot before it so that the name stays hidden, and I will call it my repo. There you go. Okay, now we have our environment files. The next thing is installing everything in this virtual environment. So we have to source into the virtual environment, and the way we do that is by basically doing source and my environment and then my repo. Then we have bin activate, so it's going to activate it. You can see it over here. And let's go back to our project. Again, deliveries. So we're gonna do make all to install everything in this environment. when you do make all, it just goes through your make file, and so if we look at our make file, it just goes through that and installs, it performs this command and then this command. Oh, sorry, it just performs the all command, which is install, lint, and test. Okay. Okay, now that we're done with that, we are just gonna add all of these new files to our Git. So we're using git add, and star means everything in the directory. Okay, so you can see that the git ignore file is already ignoring this, which is not something we need. Okay, so next we commit. M stands for message. First commit. It's committed, and then we push it to our remote repository. And now if we go back to our repository, we can see that the files are updated. Yes, so we can see that all of them are updated. And the next thing is we're going to create this go to actions and set up a new workflow yourself. So we're going to save this, we'll just commit it and create. Yep, let's just go with that. So yeah, we're done there. Now if we go back to our repository, we can see that we're gonna have, let's see, we're gonna have, yeah, this workflow section over here. Okay, so now we have our workflow in this YML file. If we go to actions, we can see that it was already, it's working, but it has found an error somewhere, so let's check that out. If we look at build, then it says that version 3.5 with Arch Linux x64 is not found. So let's go to our YML file, YAML file, and change that. Then we can go to workflows and edit this. So I think 3.6 was available there. Then we can start commit again. Let's say Python version, commit changes. Okay, there you go. Then now we go to actions. Let's see what happens. It's queued. It's going to take a couple of minutes. Okay, it's running now. Let's look at the build. Okay, seems like it passed everything. Yep. Okay, everything looks good. Okay, the next thing what we can do is create this status badge. So let's create status badge, and we can copy this status badge and go back to our README file, and we have already copied the badge, right, from actions, and we can paste it here. So yeah, this shows that it's passing. And that's it. That's your continuous integration with GitHub. So since we push it again, we can see that it's gonna run again over here. Thank you.